I'm gonna try to keep this short. I'm a week late on this. I meant to share this like a week ago, but my other camera, there was something wrong with it. But this was that roundtable meeting with all the big businesses that were getting part of this big bailout. The night before, he had it with the small businesses. So let me just start with this first guy. He's like the head of CEO of Win. Nothing really stands out about him, but what he says does stand out. But I'll just start with that.
You're going to have a great Olympics next year, too, by the way.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Really great Olympics. Thank you very much. Matt Maddox, please. Win Resorts. Hi,
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to echo what you're saying about testing and testing capacity. We have seen a real expansion in testing capacity in Las Vegas, so much so that our university hospital is going from a couple hundred tests a day to 10,000 tests a day. They don't have enough people to test. So I signed a deal with them to allow all WIN employees to get tests anytime for free. And they're going to set up on-site testing. So that's moving forward. We also, during this time, decided to pay all 15,000 of our employees, from housekeepers to head of sales.
Right.
And we did that because I thought that could help accelerate the economy. So as an example, we took our call center and we've had our call center team up with the health district to become contact tracers.
So if you didn't just catch that, he got 15,000 of his employees on the payroll, and he had them working with the hospital to do contact tracing for the COVID-19. I mean, this guy just sounded like so much to the script, and like he's a attaboy type. It just seemed too scripted to me, so I already got suspicious with this guy. And I find that very hard to believe that why would a CEO of a company feel like it's their responsibility to boost the economy by doing that, what he's saying he did.
We tripled the amount of contact tracing ability on us for our state to get that moving.
Great.
And we published a 23-page plan for the whole world to see 10 days ago that lays out exactly what we think a strip opening would look like. We have thermal cameras at our entrances.
Thermal cameras at their entrances.
We have company-supplied PPE. We have just about every UV technology that you could think of for disinfectant. So we're ready, and I'm encouraging our state that we need to begin a phased approach and get back to business.
So, Matt, when do you think the Las Vegas Strip will be opening? Do you have any idea?
So the plan that I put forward to the state is this week, let's start phase one, golf course, tennis courts, small restaurants, small retails, nail salons, etc., with social distancing in place. Judge the benchmarks that we've prepared. We prepared 3 benchmarks based on disease growth, ICU capacity, and testing positivity rate. We're going to have them out there public every day. If we're inside those benchmarks in 3 weeks, then on Memorial Day, I would hope that we're open.
And you have a lot of excess testing capacity. That's great.
We do.
Others have said that too.
We do.
Ron DeSantis said it yesterday.
So all 12,000 of our employees in Las Vegas can now go get a test.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Great
Sure.
job. Say hello to all of my friends.
I will. I will.
Right.
Say hello to all my friends.
Of course.
Josh Bolton, please. Josh, Business Roundtable.
So this is the guy I really wanted to bring up because he's the CEO of the Business Roundtable. I'll show you here in a second.
And does a great job at the Business Roundtable. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for this opportunity. I'm Josh Bolton. I'm CEO of the Business Roundtable, an organization of nearly 200 of America's leading CEOs who collectively employ over 15 million people. Every sector of the economy.
So if you didn't catch that, he is the CEO above 20 other CEOs of the country that employs 15 million people, over 15 million people. And if you didn't know, I'll show you here in a minute, but he also has 2 guys. The guy to the left of him is the Federal Reserve. The guy to the right of him is the Federal Reserve. But
Is represented in our organization, so we have an opportunity to get a view of the big picture.
to save time, I don't want to make this a long video because basically he's just rambling along with the same stuff the other guy does, going along with the script, pushing ample testing, monitoring, doing all the guidelines that the administration has put out, blah, blah, blah. So after all that, though, I got suspected a guy, so I looked into him. His name's Josh Bolten. And here, you know, he looked him up. He was served as the White House Chief of Staff under the second George Bush. Then I scroll down a little bit. First thing that pops up is his father worked for the CIA. So right there was a red flag. That, you know, here's this business roundtable meeting, and one of the biggest CEOs of all of them there, his dad worked for the CIA. So from that point, I looked into looked into that a little bit, and here, this guy has written books on the CIA, and he's actually interviewed 2 directors of the CIA, and I already confirmed all this. The guy's legit, Douglas Valentine, and he actually wrote a book. He actually wrote several books, but he actually had a CIA whistleblower, which I'll tell you here. His name was Colby, and he actually suspiciously died in the 90s on a canoe trip, and they still don't know if he was murdered or if he killed himself or if it was an accident. There's a lot of conspiracy out about that. But in any case, this guy that wrote the book and literally interviewed 2 of the first CIA directors. He was being interviewed by a guy on here, and you know, he goes into detail about all the stuff that he was told by the 2 CIA directors here, Director William Colby. So anyways, scrolling on down here, and I'm going to find that guy's dad. He brings him up on here. Hope I find it right away. Yep, here we go. So, in 1972, CIA officer Seymour Bolten, this is that guy's dad, was appointed. Let me get back here. Was appointed as the CIA Director Special Assistant for the Coordination of Narcotics. Bolten became an advisor to William Colby, the guy that actually helped interview to write the guy's book about CIA, and later the director of the Central Intelligence, George H.W. Bush. So this guy's dad worked directly under the first George Bush, while he was the director of the CIA. Before a lot of people don't realize it, the first George H.W. Bush was CIA director before he was president. So, and this guy's dad worked directly under George W. Bush. So then we go back to Bolten, and you know, he also, he also was appointed member of the board and co-chair of the Clinton Bush Haiti Foundation, and we all know about the corruption of that. So turns out, though, even though he worked for the second George Bush, he also, this guy that just was in that roundtable meeting, worked under the first George H.W. Bush. So this guy has worked under both Bushes at one point. And his dad was CIA, and so you can't tell me that's not coincidental. This guy is CIA, period. If he's worked under the director of the CIA, so just had to point that out. And I'm forgetting stuff. I had all this stuff fresh in my head a week ago, and now I'm forgetting all of it. But. So then let's go on to, hopefully I didn't miss nothing. If I did, I'll tell you about it in writing it. So let me go.
Sure. And Mr. President, we
Talented guy.
All right.
At least he made a lot of good predictions, and your predictions all turned out. Between you and Larry, that's a tremendous team. Thank you both very much. Gene, Secretary.
Wow, this is a tough one.
Thank you, Mr. President, for this
Thank you very much, Josh. That was
Okay.
great.
So we're going directly from this guy who I'm 100% sure is CIA, who's the head of all these businesses with 15 million people. He's got a Fed Reserve guy here and a Fed Reserve guy right beside him here. So
Numbers, when you look at the stock market today, the enthusiasm is great. It's up very substantially, as you know. And I think people are seeing a very big year coming up next year, and I think they're seeing a very big fourth quarter. Larry, would you like to say, Larry Kudlow, a few words, please?
Just a few words. Thanks to everybody, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, and all the business folks, and my friend Steve Mnuchin. This is a tough one. I've been around a while. This is a tough one, and the contraction's going to go on for a bit. But I like what I hear around the table, and I agree with the President. We will see a growing, recovering economy by summertime and the back end of the year, and it's going to extend into 2021. That's what I think is going to happen, and I think the stock market is signaling some of that. I wanted to buck it over to my dear friend.
So we look into this guy, Kudlow. Of course, he's the National Economic Council right now. Well, he began his career New York Federal Reserve. Started his career with the New York Federal Reserve. Then he left there and went to Wall Street and worked at Paine Webber and Bear Stearns. Now, if you're not familiar with Bear Stearns, they were the ones involved in the 2008 crash from the subprime mortgage crisis. And he was the head of that. So here we got a guy around the round table right now with this mess we have right now that had already been involved. First off, it's ironic. He started at the New York-based Federal Reserve, went to the, where's that there? Bear Stearns. It was actually the Federal Reserve Bank of New York that ended up bailing out Bear Stearns. So this guy was on both. He was double dipping here on everything, and he's still involved with everything that was within our country. I just find this stuff so sickening that this guy is. It's such a sham. This whole freaking thing is a sham.
And colleague Kevin Hassett, he gave it to me over in the Oval yesterday. I want to send
So
it
he's
over.
turning it over to this Kevin Hassett guy. Well, Kevin Hassett, he was also Federal Reserve. Hang on. Daggone it. I should have had more. He was involved with the subprime stuff too. Man, I can't even find it now where he was part of the... he was the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. He was economist for the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. The Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, commonly known as the Federal Reserve Board, is the main governing body of the Federal Reserve System. It is charged with overseeing the Federal Reserve banks and with helping implementing. So this is basically the shadow government Federal Reserve roundtable meeting, not no big business. And I'd like to know how much all these big businesses got part of that $6.2 trillion as well. But if I think of more, I'll tell you about it. So I'll just think I'll end it right there. This is my first time I've ever done this, so excuse me.